Hello everyone, my name is Xochitl Cruz and this is my presentation for Class Humanities 425 on Christian Ethics. For this presentation I have chosen to discuss the 10 Commandments because for me they represent the basics of Christian ethics. For my first Bible verse I have chosen Romans 12:2, which reads, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." This would be the representation of what would be the commandment of "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." I believe the downfall of man started with his misunderstanding of who God is and why he created him. For my second verse, I have chosen Ephesians 5:33, which reads, "However, each of you must also love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband." I believe that God instituted the relationship of marriage on earth to be the representation of his relationship with us. So we must honor, obey, and respect our spouse. For my third verse, I have chosen Ephesians 5:5, which says, "For of this you can be sure. No immoral, impure, or greedy person, such as a person is an idolater, has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God." This would be the commandment on "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, wife, or possessions." This passage is pretty clear in stating if we choose to follow these negative things, we will not partake in the inheritance of eternal life with Christ in heaven. On my topics, my ethical issue number 1, I have chosen to speak on abortion and embryonic stem cell research. This is a delicate, controversial, and ongoing subject. It was legalized in 1973 by the United States Supreme Court. There is great controversy. The development of medical technologies has brought even more concerns to light as time progresses and technologies get more advanced. There is pro-life and pro-choice advocates on both sides of the opinions for this issue. There are 4 major aspects of abortion to be considered, which are the legal concerns, the biblical concerns, pro-choice arguments, and parenthood. I personally do believe that a woman has a right to choose under certain circumstances. I don't know much on the subject. All I know is that I do believe God. I do believe the Bible when it says that God knew us before he was born and he created us in our mother's womb. So I do believe that life starts even before we are in our mother's stomach, because God knew us. It says it in his word. But I also do believe that women have rights to choose on what to do with their bodies. So this is probably going to continue to be a topic of discussion and of great controversy because it has to do with life itself. For my other topic, my ethical issue number 2, I chose physician-assisted suicide and euthanasia. There's basically 3 ways that a person can be assisted to hasten death, and that would be through termination of life support, physician-assisted suicide, and euthanasia. For me personally, I've always been under the idea that when my time comes, it comes. If I were ever to have any type of accident or any type of disease, I would definitely would not want to be resuscitated, would not want to be on life support. It's a personal choice, and I felt this way for a long time, and I continue to feel this way. I know there's a lot of controversy as well, but there is one Bible verse that I found that relates to this topic, and that's Matthew 10:28, which says, "Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. So at the end of the day, I believe that we are here in the time frame that God gives us. He dictates our beginning and our end, and we just have to be prepared and make sure we have all the legalities in place, because our time will come. For my ethical issue number 3, I have chosen the morality of war, and only because we're at a time where you hear so much wars and rumors of wars. It's biblical, it's out there, it's happening all over the place, and there's really no running from it. There is an increase, I believe, in weaponry, international terrorism, racism, and tyranny that has the world on edge as far as war and rumors of war are concerned. They're commonplace nowadays. I believe that there is a lot of cruelty and tyranny, financial ambition and hatred among the leaders of the world, and that it just takes people to a place of evilness that nowadays we see so common. We do see war in the Old Testament, and as I was reading, God commanded Israel to go to war. In the Old Testament, there was calling of war. I also read that the New Testament reflects a spirit of pacifism. But again, I would definitely say no to war. Yet again, it's one of those issues where there's no black and white. There's many gray areas. So it's a difficult topic. But nowadays we see so much destruction going on in the world that war is a serious issue that we need to pray about. In my case study, I chose to speak about a case that we had while I was working in a medical office, where one of our MAs, it was discovered that she was addicted to drugs, and she was stealing prescription pads, and she was buying drugs, and it was something we did not want to get involved. I did not want to get involved in. I just wanted to let her go. But at the end of the day, we realized that in order for her to get help and in order to change the habits we had in our office, we had to confront the situation. And in the end, she was a very good employee, but she did have an addiction. She did have a problem. And in the end, through our office, she was able to get the help she needed. She did serve time. But she got admitted into a program for drug rehabilitation. So this was my case study choice. Again, I was reading in the National Institute of Drug Abuse that there is an increase in drug abuse, in emergency room visits, and in deaths. And this is due to the availability of drugs that we have. So it's something definitely that we need to consider as we move forward with so many new drugs coming up. For the issue in which I am not, I have my reservations. I chose to speak on divorce and marriage, only because to me it's a sensitive issue, because I have been divorced. I am currently in my 2nd marriage, and it was not by choice. I always wanted to be married and have a family, and when it didn't turn out that way, I felt really bad. But after years of reflection, spiritual growth, and a marriage of a relationship of almost 20 years in a marriage, I can definitely say that I have surrendered myself over to God, that because of what I went through in my first marriage, I can now say that I fight for my marriage, I fight for my family, and I am who I am today. So I am sensitive to the issue, but thanks to the grace and mercy of God, I can move forward, and I can say that I am who I am today because of that divorce. And that is all. Thank you very much, and God bless you.